So hey everybody, Leah touched on a lot of macro issues, big issues that the problem's facing. And as an industry, we're trying to figure out what the solutions to these problems need to be. And one of the things I want to just iterate one more time is that your carrier needs to be an innovator for the solution. Don't be a follower. And there's 1,000 different solutions that you could go after to solve any one of these problems, be it retention, be it driver shortage, be it attracting new people in an industry. We've got dozens of problems to fix, but we have a lot of brain power, talent, resources within the industry. And this industry, what I've learned, is amazing at networking events, right? Everybody knows each other. It's a very tight-knit industry. We should be able to put our heads together to fix these issues. So let's work towards that. That's the one message that I want to follow up on Leah's. So Leah's issues are all macroeconomic issues, right? But some of these issues aren't going to be fixed overnight, and they're going to take a long time. And there's a driver shortage now, right? I came into this industry in 2010. I was a recruiter for Heartland Express, graduated from University of Iowa, spent 2 years as a recruiter for a mega carrier. And at the time, they brought me in, they slapped me in the chair, and I spent 2 years working niche job board leads. So they assigned me careers and gears, and they assigned me jiggy jobs. And that was my source as a recruiter to work. And I was working leads at this pivotal time when drivers were still faxing release forms. I don't know if you guys were recruiting back then and what it meant. Heartland Express would not pay $2 per page. Drivers would go to a fax machine. They would not have $10 to pay to send release forms in. Can you believe that? Like $10, and Heartland Express was not willing to pay for it. They would not pay for the driver to fax in their release forms. So we're at this time right now where the future of recruiting, it's going to change and it's going to be different. And when I started, I went to Roger Fair's house, and Roger, I love him to death. He had this book, this binder, this giant box, right? And in this box, it had old stats from 20 years ago. The guy's been in the industry, I call him the godfather of the industry. And he had just this binder of these things, and I pulled them out, I started looking at it. It was call stats from 1997 for what Truck Stop magazine ads used to do in the industry. And when I started this industry at Heartland Express, they were in all the Truck Stop magazine ads. And if you guys were in the industry when the magazine days were going bonkers, these call stats were 1,000 phone calls off of one page insert on a magazine. That's how drivers used to find their jobs. This was at the very start of digital. Digital was going, and then digital was the thing that innovated. What I'm trying to get at right now is that there is going to be a shift in what happens in the next 5 years, just like how the magazine days died. Just like 5 or 6 years ago, Craigslist was the #1 source. Everybody loved Craigslist. I put 2/3 of my budget when I was the recruiting director at Riverside Transporting Craigslist. And now Craigslist, it sucks. I mean, the results aren't good. And it's terrible to post. I mean, it's just terrible. And so things are changing, right? And as an industry, how you solve your driver shortage problem right now, what we do as an industry, we just throw money at the problem, right? Everybody's budgets increases. There's not any more drivers today than there were 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, a year ago. What happens is everybody's budgets goes up, everybody's cost per lead goes up, we cannibalize each other, there's more demand. And so when I was prepping for this presentation, I was going to go to Facebook, and I wanted to see some examples. And I took this recording here. And so how do you navigate through all the noise being an advertiser, okay? How do you get your company's message seen when there's probably 3 times more budget on advertising today than what there was just 12 months ago? I've seen it. Carriers' budgets have doubled, tripled. Cost per hire, $1,000, $1,200. 2 years ago was fine. Now $2,500 is the new normal. Is it going to balance out? We don't know, but we throw money at the problem. Well, let me show you what I found. And this is unbelievable. And you need to understand this, that your drivers are seeing too. So I went through 76 different individual content spots on Facebook, 76 in the feed. Of those, 52 were organic content that's content that Facebook showed me. 26 were paid ads. And this is for me. I'm not a driver. I've never applied one time for one job, but Facebook's got me pegged. 24 of those 26 ads were for driving jobs. That's in one session. That's one driver on Facebook one time over a 5-minute session. He saw 24 different ads for a job. And so there is a lot of noise, and there's a lot of things that are going on that you guys need to make sure that you are aware of where the drivers are consuming your ads. Because the one way to fix the problem for you right now is you put money into advertising. So the immediate fix, potentially, is to optimize your advertising to the highest degree that it's ever been optimized before. Like, this is NASA, right? That's what we have to do. And so what I want to do today is I want to just take you guys. I don't know what sort of experience level we all have here. I don't know. Some of you guys might be ad experts. Some of you may not do it at all. Some may never have been in Facebook Ad Manager. Others here might be just spot on experts. But I want to kind of take just a step back. I want to set the stage in all the ad platforms. And I just want to run through it because I feel like that it's going to be really important for you guys to know where your money is being spent at and what platforms you have available to you, okay? And so before I go into the platforms, I just want to, for just to be very general and vague, the way I look at it for you guys when you advertise today, you have two options available. You have display advertising and Facebook, Google, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Reddit. That's the ads in the feed. It has a headline, a creative, an image. You're paying for that ad to be seen by somebody hoping you solicit a response from the driver. Well, I classify and I consider display advertising as generally lower intent. The driver's not looking for a job. They just saw your ad. It's a lower intent advertising vertical. It's higher volume. You're probably going to get more leads with display advertising. And it's a lower cost per lead, okay? And so you're just showing them the ads all the time. And then search advertising, all right? These are the traditional Google, Bing, Yahoo. I have Craigslist in here, search advertising. And I have what's called, this little symbol right here, I call that programmatic job boards. Indeed, ZipRecruiters, Glassdoor, Simply Hired. So two different paths, two different ways to advertise. And I'm going to group all of these vendors or all of these products into these little buckets here, and we're going to run through them. And so what I have here for you is at the very top of this screen, I'm going to go through all the platforms, and we're going to talk about each one just for a minute. It's going to set the stage for other things we talk about moving on. So Facebook, I'm going to start with Facebook here because I think you guys all know Facebook's our big thing. CDLLife, we started one of the first trucker community pages back in 2010. This was before Facebook even allowed advertising. Facebook didn't start advertising until 2012. And so we were on Facebook 2 years before Facebook was even monetizing their platform yet as an ad platform. We started with content. So we became experts in the Facebook space before any of the other ad platforms. So in Facebook, what I want you guys to know is that it's not just display advertising. You can't just look at it so vague like, okay, I get it. It's a creative, it's an image, it's a headline. There are so many technical things and so many options that you have available just on Facebook in and of itself that these decisions that you guys make on your advertising, they extend outside of just that one platform. So on Facebook, for example, if you guys can see my screen, one campaign type's called lead gen. You're looking for leads. And so what Facebook's done, if you see this right here, Facebook does not let the user leave Facebook to get the application. See, Facebook pulls up their own native contact form. You submit that contact form right there on Facebook, and then you're done. Well, that's just one objective that you can do on Facebook. Facebook's got more. You can do conversion campaigns. And so instead of the driver applying on Facebook, you can send them to any website you want to send them to, right? And when you do a conversion campaign, when they see the ad on Facebook, they click the ad, they go through, and you're optimizing for whatever conversion event that you want, okay? Traditional display ads, video ads, in-feed ads, stories. I don't know if you guys have seen stories. A lot of you probably don't know what audience network is. Essentially, Google was the first one. You guys go to a website, right, and you were looking for Gillette razors, and then you see an ad for Gillette razors later. And 10 years ago, this was called retargeting. It's still called retargeting today, but we all consume ads this way. Facebook realized that Google had a lot of market share on the retargeting, and Facebook had a lot of users that they wanted to start going out to publishers, news websites, and they wanted these websites to put Facebook's ads on their website. So Facebook, even though you may not think about this, but when you advertise on Facebook, your ads can and will go outside of Facebook on whatever other website that companies that allow Facebook to show ads on their website. And I just want to make sure that you guys understood that. Shifting gears to Google, okay, this is examples of Google ads, the more traditional display advertising. You go to any website, you're going to see these. The interesting part about Google, and a lot of people don't know this, Google takes a 32% cut. So when you guys advertise $10,000 on Google ads, for example, and they put their ads on a publisher, well, Google just pockets 32% of the money. So out the back, when you use Google, only 68% of your budget is even going to get to Google. Now, that's universal for everybody. And so it's normalized, it's rolled up. I mean, everybody has to pay that to access Google's network, okay? Traditionally with display advertising, what you pay for impressions. You pay to get your creative, to get your ad seen by thousands of people, and we're hoping that Leah talked about this funnel, right? And Bobby, our Chief Technology Officer, he's gonna come on stage after me. We're gonna show you some data. But that's the start of the funnel, the impression, right? You're gonna have 1 million people to see your ad. You're looking for a hire. What happens through that chain? So normally what you're doing with display advertising is you're paying for an impression. Instagram, this comes up a lot. We won't spend a lot of time on this, but if you buy from Facebook, Facebook owns Instagram, so you can also get your ad into Instagram. YouTube, we got a lot of clients that ask, oh, let's do YouTube. A lot of times clients don't have good videos though. Like if you're gonna do YouTube advertising, you need to have some good videos to put on YouTube to advertise there. TikTok, how many people are switched over to TikTok? It's a new thing. I just started using TikTok about 2 weeks ago. Anybody that has ads on TikTok right now? We got one. Only one in this whole room. We only got one person that's advertising on TikTok. Okay. All right, good. So this is a good call out and a good point that I want to make. The future of recruiting as it relates to recruitment advertisement is going to be staying ahead of the trends in an increasingly complex digital media market. You have to be very sophisticated, and you have to be willing to not be a follower, not realize that all your competitors are already advertising on TikTok and now it's too late. So TikTok's a place. Reddit. Go into the search. You guys all know search, what they look like. We don't need to spend a lot of time on this. Google, Bing, Yahoo, just basic search advertising. This has been going around for a long time, but now cost per clicks are sky high. And click volume is down. People aren't searching like they used to for jobs. Remember we said Craigslist used to be amazing, and we said that Truck Stop magazines used to be amazing. Search volume is down. Drivers are not searching for those keywords that they used to search for. They're not finding jobs like they used to, typing in truck driving job, typing in local jobs near me. It's just not happening. And the experience is poor. The reason I think it is that when a driver goes, if you guys have ever tried to search for truck driving jobs, the first 4 slots are paid ads. Then you have Indeed, you got a couple power players, you got Google Jobs that load in, and then there's just not a lot of relevant websites that it's not a way that they do it anymore. Job board aggregators. This is one that, I always knew these existed. I didn't really get my mind around it until about 3 years ago. Okay, so I would just, for me personally, a lot of people call this programmatic, and that's a buzzword. I'm sure a lot of you have heard the term programmatic. Let's do programmatic. Well, essentially what that is it is all of the job board websites, the niche websites, the Indeeds, the ZipRecruiters, the Glassdoors, the Simply Hireds. And as an advertiser, as somebody managing your budget, you're probably not going to have a single person create an individual posting account with each one of these individual sites. You're not going to allocate budget individually to each one of these sites when you need a driver. It would take you hours and hours to set up each account separate. So what you do is you tap into technology, you allocate one budget, and then programmatically, your budget's delivered to all of the various different sites that exist to get you the best results that you can. And this has been going on for several years. This is a known model within the industry. It's a model that a percentage of your budget goes here. It does work. And this is search advertising, so it's a higher intent advertising. They're actually looking for jobs. And then Craigslist, you all know that. So in spite of all these different platforms, how do you get noticed? Okay, how do you get noticed out there when you have all these different areas for you to advertise in? Have you guys all seen these images? Yeah. How many times do you have, and I'm not going to call anybody out, but don't rely on stock photos of somebody else's equipment for your ads. I think that probably everybody in here is pretty sophisticated enough to not really have these, but we see it. I've seen this ad in the center probably 50 times on ads, and you can buy that image for $15. Don't do this. Get really good, attractive creatives, because for display advertising, that creative, that's one of the ways that you optimize that budget. Optimize the creative. Make sure that you're using something authentic, right? Fresh video content. So before we play this, here's what I want you guys to know. The way of the future is video. Video, that's why TikTok is doing so well. People want video. Doing video right is hard to do. Okay, I want you guys to watch this. This is a driver. It's not an ad. This is an organic post. This is a good way that somebody has decided to advertise using video.
Guys, I need y'all's help. I'm at our yard here, Tribe Express in Oakwood, Georgia. We got about 23 company trucks that need to be filled. Y'all help me out here. Let's get these trucks filled up. Damn good company to work for. As you can see, they're all T680 Kenworths. We got a couple of gray ones. We got black ones. We got maroon ones. Guys, they just need to fill these trucks. I'm trying to help them get these trucks filled up. I've been here 2.5 years. Love it. Wouldn't leave for nothing. So if you guys are interested, go to tribetrans.com. Fill out your application online, and they'll call you. So let's get them filled up. Y'all help me out.
That was not a paid ad. That was an organic posting. That was a company that went to their drivers. It was very authentic. Not high dollar video production, not fancy creative imagery. That resonates. That resonates more than what you will ever imagine. And we put a lot of money into creatives and designs, and you saw how much noise there was, right? When I showed you the feed, you saw how much noise. This is not going to get passed over. The other 23 ads are going to get passed over. And it's because the digital media space is so saturated. Everybody's advertising. I got one more example to show you. And we'll probably cut this one off halfway. This is kind of a longer one.
Make this real short, sweet. I need a couple drivers. Tired of driving that plastic piece of shit truck that's governed at 62 miles an hour, going God knows where, hauling God knows what. Let me know. Send me a message. I need 2 drivers. One to run from Springfield, Missouri to the northwest, Washington, Oregon, Idaho. We make a couple grand a week. Drive a 379, ungoverned.
We're good.
No fucking E-logs.
Trying to cut it out before that
Gotta
one.
make good money.
Trying to stop.
Drive a nice ass truck.
But here's the point though, and Leah touched on this, and don't lose this. Drivers don't want to work for mega carriers. And it's becoming increasingly easy for the small guys to win in this space, especially with spot markets being really high, especially with them going out. Smaller guys, smaller carriers can be competitive. And that guy that needs 2 drivers, he's taking your market share. And it's happening right in front of you because drivers want to work there for him, not for your big company. And I think we know this, and your company has a lot more to offer probably than that guy. But we need to get the message out there, and you need to frame it in a way like you care. You need to frame your message so that that authenticity shines through. And so I would challenge you and I would encourage you that if the one takeaway as a carrier is that you've got to figure out how to get your drivers to shine. I've given a couple talks. I've talked about brand influencers. I've talked about being able to go after, I'm sure you guys have drivers right now that in your head, you know, these are awesome drivers. They've been here 5 years, 7 years, that they would do great at this. Pay him, pay her. Give them supplemental pay. Let them be your advocate. Have them advertise on your behalf. Create them their own Facebook page for your company. You know, and these things aren't that complicated. They're not that tough, but you need to build the content and the authenticity, and the drivers will come. And that's the one thing that I wanted to say. So we've talked about the platforms, the different platforms that are out there at our disposal. You know, we want to get noticed. We want to eliminate the noise. Well, let's say that you have the best creatives in existence, right? Let's say that you are you have the highest authenticity, you're the most authentic company out there. Let's say that you are technical experts at all the different platforms that exist, like you're amazing. Well, the next question is, how do you determine the right mix of products to use to diversify your budget, to make sure that you're not getting diminishing returns, to make sure that not all your eggs are in one basket, to make sure that you're efficiently spending your dollars to the highest level. And that has to start with understanding the difference, in my opinion, of what I call a core product vertical and a proprietary product vertical. And I'm gonna spend some time on these just to get everybody up to speed. Core product verticals, when I say this, these are products that you can use for advertising tomorrow. You can create an account. There's no middleman. You can go straight to the source and create the campaign, okay? It can be very simple, but it's very, very complex. And those that are more sophisticated are those that win. But you can go do a TikTok ad tomorrow, okay? So it's core vertical. Proprietary verticals, these are what I consider to be that they have their own niche thing, they're their own website, but you can't log in theoretically tomorrow. You have to get access. You have to go to these people, you have to get access, you gotta build a relationship, you gotta get an account rep, they gotta put a custom proposal together for you. You in and of yourself can't control the nitty-gritty of what you're gonna do with your budget and your campaign. So when you go back to Facebook and you spend money on Facebook, you can control, if you do it yourself, you can control every little single aspect of how you want that ad delivered, what audience you want it to target to, what areas you want it to target to. On this side of the fence, and I include CDLLife here. I actually include us on both sides, where we are a platform over here too. You need their help to build it, right? And so there are all these different platforms that you can use to advertise, but you have to figure out the right mix. And in order to do that, in my opinion, you really have to know your objective. What is your company looking to accomplish with your dollars? What works for your company? Are you looking for lead volume? Are you looking for full apps? You know, knowing that, it's going to determine maybe what source you use or what product that you use. Because the more experienced you get, understanding the pros and cons and the strengths and weaknesses of these companies and how they work, the more that you're going to be able to influence where you want to put your money to meet your objective. So for example, if you have 2 recruiters, you probably don't want to rely on a bunch of matched leads. It doesn't do you any good if you pick a source that's going to give you 1,000 leads a month if you've only got 2 recruiters. I think we'd all agree with that. But likewise, if you're a mega carrier, 20 recruiters, 30 recruiters, if you need extra support, extra help, they could be good for training. Know your objective of what you're trying to accomplish. Are you looking for a lead form or a full application, right? I mean, full applications, we all know it's going to cost way more to get them, but you have to get a full application and turn to a hire. And do you have more success getting the full app only than bypassing the short form? Or does the short form allow you to build your databases, build your retargeting audiences, build lookalike campaigns? Lead forms, I recommend a lead form every time. I would rather have the lead every time. I know this, we can debate with, everybody's different, and that's why you have to control your own objective. But personally, I'd rather have the lead form every time because I want to grow that database. I want to remarket to that driver. I want to retarget them with other opportunities. If you're looking for the full app first, you're missing out on hundreds, thousands of contacts that you could grow over time by making them go to the full app right away versus go into that lead form right away. So in terms of the intent, we've talked about this already. I just wanted to circle back to this point. Display ads, in terms of all the sources, some of these sources are going to be more display ad heavy and some are going to be more search heavy. It just depends on what products they use. The truth of the matter here, to be quite honest, is what I've discovered in the 4 years that I've been really digging into how this industry operates from a ad implementation standpoint. We all buy and sell the same traffic that was bought from these sources. Normally, not very many of these companies have enough traffic and enough app volume on their own to support everything they need to do with your budget, that we all go back here and we buy from here to supplement the results that you get here. And that's what happens. And people don't want to tell you that happens, but it happens. And it's something that you need to be aware of, that it happens. And so if you are spending $20,000 a month on Facebook already, and then you are buying from 10 of these companies, and they're all putting $2,000 a month on Facebook, but they invoice you $10,000, but they put $2,000 of your budget on Facebook, and you're doing your media plan and you're looking at what you're doing, you didn't really put $20,000 a month of your budget into Facebook. You put $40,000 of your money into Facebook, but you just didn't know that the vendors that you went to also put $2,000 a month of your budget into Facebook. That's what happens. And that's not bad, okay? That's not necessarily a bad thing, because all of these vendors, we all have different audiences. We all have different people we're targeting. Not a single one of us, when I say us, I include me, not a single one of us has every driver in our database at all times. So you need a mix and you need to use other things. But when we build a campaign, for example, we're gonna retarget our audience with your ads. If you do your own Facebook, for example, it's likely that there's overlap, right? We're going to overlap each other's efforts, but there's also going to be non-overlap that you guys need to tap into as well. So I'm not saying that using these companies are bad. I am saying have the awareness of what they're doing, because like I said, if you're spending 20 and you've got 10 carriers spending 2, maybe now that's a different issue for you. And maybe now you know that you've got 40% of your budget going to Facebook and you didn't know that before. Okay, this is one thing. This is kind of a big no-no, and I just want to kind of walk through this. This is what happens when you use your own core product, and then you have vendors that do the same thing for you. In prepping for this presentation, I went to Google. I typed in a search result, truck driving jobs, just to see what would come up. The top 4 results on Google search are ads, right? Normally for trucking jobs, they're going to be ads. This is the exact same company being advertised by 4 different vendors. Each vendor is targeting the same keyword for the same company, getting 4 different results, all different attribution. And you want to know what makes this even worse? The very first organic search result is that company's brand term. So what I'm saying is that digital media is becoming very sophisticated, very advanced. And as an industry, we talk macro levels. We're solving it immediately. You guys need to solve this driver shortage and your needs immediately, so you increase budget. Make sure that you know best practices so things like this don't happen, so that your money isn't pissed down the drain just because you got people bidding on your brand terms. And that's the biggest pet peeve with search, is that vendors will steal your organic traffic. They will leech your brand terms because they know that if somebody types Hanson and Atkins, that driver was going to apply for you already, Lane, but a vendor stole it from you. That happens. All right, so moving on here. In light of all this, okay, Facebook and these platforms can be very simple. Okay, I don't want you to give the impression that they're very complicated. They are, but you can build a campaign on Facebook, start to finish. You can build a campaign in 5 minutes. If you had a general understanding of what you were doing, you could go in there, you could build a campaign, 5 minutes, be done. But in the future of tomorrow, as things change, that's not going to be who wins. who wins with your money tomorrow isn't going to be the person that makes it simple. It's going to be you have to get more sophisticated with what you do. And as kind of a case in point to this, I was trying to geek out on you guys, and I was trying to figure out how many different permutations of ways that you could create an ad on Facebook. In other words, if you picked a different objective as you went through the funnel, how many times could you create one campaign but do it differently and just change something on it? After about 30 minutes of looking and 2 pages of notes, I gave up. I said, there's no way I'm going to be able to quantify this. The big takeaway is that there are tens of thousands of different ways that you can configure an ad campaign on Facebook. And when we put money on Facebook or Google, it's not just as easy as saying, hey, I tried Google, I spent $10,000. It's not just that easy, because the $10,000 that you spent on Google or Facebook, that money is, you could have spent it way more efficiently if you just changed some simple configurations within the campaign settings. So it's a constant state of A/B testing. It's a constant state of using Facebook and then seeing what it does for you and then trying new stuff. You also can't spread your budget too thin on these platforms. If you've only got $5,000 to spend and you're going to do all 10 sources and you're going to equally allocate budget, you would textbook academically, you would probably think that's the wise thing to do. You got 10 sources, you give everybody $500. You gave such little budget to each source that no way, shape, or form are the people performing this for you. Are they going to be able to optimize within the budget that you gave them to get them to the result level that you're looking for? Because you didn't even give enough budget to one vertical to even see what that vertical in and of itself could do for you, right? So one of the things is don't spread your budget so thin and not give time for that platform to mature for you to see the results with the optimizations that can be made within that product platform, okay? I'm going to skip this because I think I'm going to short on time. So in terms of complexity, and I keep using Facebook as an example just because it's the easy one. All other platforms are this way. But when you target hiring area, for example, and Bobby's going to talk a little bit more on this when he comes up next. But did you know Facebook, for example, lets you target hiring area 3 different ways? You can target based on where they live. You can target ads based on drivers that may have been in an area but aren't in that area now. So think about it. If you had every single truck stop in your database and you did an ad, a high frequency display ad, where you target every driver, every truck stop with a reach campaign, and you said, show my ad to the people who are in this location, you'd be able, that's called geofencing. You'd be able to geofence all the truck stops, do a high intensity display campaign, but that's a different ad targeting strategy than just saying, hey, show my ad to just the people who live here. You're trying to get that pass-through traffic of those. And so targeting is a very complex thing in and of itself, and it's only one small subset of the way that the campaigns are built and ran. And so the big takeaway is that it is complicated. I talk to a lot of companies and I don't get on the phone a whole lot anymore to sell our products. But one of the number one things I've heard from carriers that we sign up is they find out that I'm going to make Facebook be a part of what they do. It's a part of our campaign. And they always ask, well, I can do Facebook myself. Why should I use you? You can use Facebook. I encourage you to use Facebook on yourself. I encourage you to know the platform. I encourage you to become an expert so you know and you appreciate what I do that's above and beyond what you're not going to take the time to do yourself. And I know agencies do that for you as well. There's a reason why that this type of stuff is very complicated, because the simple truth is that most trucking companies do not have the skill set internally, because this technology is changing so fast. It's changing so much, it's hard to keep up. It's hard for me to keep up, and I do it every day for a living. And so this is complicated. I call this pixel targeting. Pixel targeting is something that you need. It's code. It's a little piece of code you have to inject on a website to track the response that you're looking for. When we have to try to talk clients that don't have a pixel installed on their landing page, and we have to try to ask them to install this pixel so I can optimize. I'll do it again. It's like, what? And their website's from 1995. It looks like it was, it's just like, dude, how much do you advertise? You spend $10,000 a month and your website's a piece of shit. You know, I'm serious. I'm just being as candid as I can. The other thing that happens in this industry, and this does not happen enough, and I'm going to circle back to this. Partner with your vendors, partner with your agencies, let them help you more, because what I want from every carrier in this room is I want every week your hire data. Every week I want your rejected drivers. I want the drivers that you can't hire. And I'm willing to sign any data security agreement that I need to sign, because you know why I want it? If you spend tens of thousands of dollars with me and you're not giving me the list of your rejected drivers, I'm displaying impressions to people that you already knew that were rejected. Part of the complexity of ad campaigns in the digital space is you can upload exclusion lists of people. You can say, let's say you have 100,000 drivers you know that you're never going to touch again. They've been terminated out of your system. Why would you ever want to pay your ad to retarget that person? Tell Facebook, tell Google, exclude these people from my ad targeting so you're not wasting impressions and wasting budget. That can happen. That's more sophisticated. You can do that. I think I'm going to... How much time I got? Okay, Bobby's gonna talk about some of this stuff. I'm gonna skip past this. We talked about getting your vendors to help you. Just really, my biggest desire is really to partner on the things that we can optimize to a level that's never been done before, because the way of the world today is digital marketing is accelerating at such a fast pace that if you're not in it every day, trying the different platforms every day, you're gonna fall behind. And you're going to be that carrier that is still doing Craigslist when Craigslist was the best thing 6 years ago, and you still have the majority of your budget there, and you're wondering why that's not working anymore. And you're going to miss out on that next upside of what happens. So don't miss out on the next things. I'm going to run over these real quick. These are just kind of a little geeky advanced data optimization techniques. This is something... There's nothing as a vendor, and I think agencies can probably attest to this, there's nothing that I'm prepared to battle more, duke more, fight more than lead attribution. That's the biggest thing. You get two different vendors that you give money to, and you want to try to have two vendors fight over the same hire when both vendors had a touch point on that hire. Oh man, I'm ready to duke. Let's battle it out and see who won. And that happens because, and you can solve it. You can prevent against it. But what I find a lot of times is that people, whether this takes too much time, whether they just don't have the internal people to do it, maybe they just don't understand. I don't know what it is. It's probably a mixture of all these. But assign referral codes to all your sources. Do phone tracking on every single source and every single vertical. Use multiple phone tracking for different campaigns within the same advertising vertical. Track your website applies. Build a process for your internal applications. If somebody calls in and they saw your trailer, what I see, this was shared with me by a client, and this was out of their 10th Street origin system. They sent me a screenshot, showed me where CDLLife was stacked up. You can't really see this that well. It's kind of minimized. 66% of their hires were unassigned hires. They could not track them back. And I'm talking about a carrier that hires 80 drivers a week. So it's not a smaller carrier, but 60-some% of their hires, they could not track back to a source because they were sending their traffic to their website, not to the full app. So the referral codes got lost. They sent them to the website. Now it's organically on the carrier's website, right? The driver then fills out the apply form on the carrier's website that's labeled R equals website lead. Well, you sent all your traffic from your vendors back to your website that then applied on your website lead, and now you lost the attribution on it. And it's just a simple fix, just one thing. And so I hope and I respect, and you guys probably all do this very well, but it's just one takeaway that if you don't do this well, if you haven't audited all of your phone calls, all your referral codes, if you're recycling phone numbers, don't get into the box to where you have a phone number that you've been using for 3 years and you recycle it to a new source, and then that you still have residual calls coming in from that old number. That's pointless. Why are you even assigning that new source of referral code or a unique phone number? Other tips, leverage your database. I talked about wanting to build custom audiences. The best things that you can do internally are go after your rehires, go after your internal databases, have your recruiters contact your leads, make sure you do lead nurturing, make sure you have email autoresponders, make sure that you're hitting these guys 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I know that we all do that, but Bobby's going to talk about kind of funnel. The main thing I've talked about is optimizing the biggest funnel, which is the impression and the advertising. That's the top of the funnel. I'm just talking about that. These other things, your tech splash, your database, that's how you optimize some of your bottom of your funnel. And it's not bottom of the funnel from the journey of the driver from impression to hire. It's the residual things. It's the things that your company already has. I call this your brick and mortar. Your company being a brick and mortar in and of itself. You have trailers on the road. You got driver referrals. You already have a big database. You can be doing these things to more effectively work your leads. Make that a focus, make that a priority going back. And if it already is, great, you're already ahead of it, you're on your game. We talked about that. We talked about custom audiences, but let me explain how powerful the custom audiences could be if you guys shared data. If, let's say, I'm gonna use just simple math. Let's say that you had 1,000 impressions, you had 100 applies, you had 10 full apps, you had 5 drivers approved by safety, but you only had 1 person come in of the 5 approvals, right? Well, you have 4 approvals that you could have brought in that didn't come in. Why? Did you take too long to get them an answer? Were they shopping around and they had 50 other job offers that Leah talked about that time, the lead time to hire, get them the answer quick? What we could do with the sophistication of digital marketing is we could have a dynamically updated list of all your drivers and approved status. It could happen through an API, it could happen automatically. You give me, the vendor, your list of approved drivers, and I have built a custom, unique advertising campaign that shows a different creative saying, you're approved, come in for orientation, we got a spot for you on 7/17. And this ad is changed out every week. And this is just a bucket of a custom audience that you target with the reach campaign on Facebook. It's display ads, and you're targeting your bucket of approved drivers with its own unique campaign every single week. It would hardly cost you any money at all. I'm talking a reach campaign is probably $30 per 1,000 impressions. If you've only got 100 drivers in that approved status that you're trying to get in, we're talking $50, $60 that you could have a concurrent, perpetual, separate campaign showing creative display ads targeting just your approved drivers with a different messaging. For the simple purpose of that is to go from 5 people being approved in only 1 hire to now 5 people being approved in 3 hires. Because the minute that they got a hire, the minute you got them that approval, you're now targeting them with that display ad that's saying, welcome aboard, we've got you approved. And so that can be done, but that's complicated. That's time consuming. That's intense. You're probably not going to do too well doing some sort of automated spreadsheet back and forth. That really probably should be automated to do it effectively, but it can be done. Same thing. We talked about the rejected. Here's the one last thing, and I thought this was too good to miss. It kind of wasn't in. This is the last thing I'll say, and then we'll open it up to questions and answers. I'm sure you guys all know Tim Norland and Rail, right? They have done an amazing job. Tim's company has done an amazing job at building content a long time ago for CDL drivers, people coming into the industry. And so Rail, for example, shows up organically very high for CDL practice tests and CDL training. They built Rail's website. This was done a long time ago. I was an admirer of this 3-4 years ago. They built a big resource guide. We talked about that from the macro, being that company that builds resources for drivers. Rail did it. They built the program. And as a result, Rail, for their organic traffic that comes, now this is just a software tool that you use. It's called SEMrush. You can go look up any company's domain traffic, and it's just a guess. It's not an exact, but it's a guess. What this is telling me is that Rail is getting the equivalency of $484,000 of organic traffic to their pages because they rank so high for CDL training and CDL practice tests, because they've built content, they've built resources for drivers. And so that is a lot of traffic perpetually over time that they get because they built content for the drivers. And so if you're not doing that, if you're not a resource guide, we talked about trying to attract drivers into the industry. Well, have your carrier be at the forefront of creating content that talks about what it means to be a CDL driver. Put that on YouTube, go viral, get a lot of views off of that. that those are the things that doesn't cost month over month over month advertising budget. It costs an investment today for you to actually do that. And Rail's an example of what the results look like when you do that. And so I just want to get that in there. I don't have much else. I know we kind of just ran through a bunch of stuff, but I felt like I just wanted to make sure that you guys were thinking through the advertising as I do, with the complexity, all the different sources, what's available at your disposal. And when we talk about the future of recruiting, your number one source right now will not be that number one source in 5 years. It's going to change again. Just like how Truck Stop Magazine ads, Roger Fair told me that at one point in time they were charging for a Truck Stop Magazine ad $100,000 for a one-page insert into a Truck Stop Magazine ad back in the day. Can you imagine that? It just boggles my mind that that's what a magazine ad used to be able to do for a driver. So it's going to change. And the one thing that I'm telling you is that if you're looking to stay with it as it evolves, you have got to put resources in to being at the top of your game, because there's so much noise out there. Going back to the 24 out of 26 ads were trucking ads. There's so much competition that little things can make a big difference in how you perform in these areas.